you're renowned as the most pragmatic man in football, but Saturday night was for the misty-eyed romantics. Gaz, could you believe from the moment that David Swallow was announced as being in the team here that it would conspire to deliver the defining moment of the game? The ball was on his boot at the end.
No, because if you write the script, you'd say, listen, that's too corny.
Too much.
You're overstretching here. No, Damien Hardwick announced it here, which took us both by surprise when he said he's going to play, and then all week we lived it through his eyes. Every single Gold Coast Suns player that talks about David Swallow does it with a reverence. So his standing in the club is unsurpassed. And then we just got off the plane when this happened, and the Hawthorn boys were sitting around watching it, and this cheer went up when he slotted it through. So, no, I thought it was an overreach by the script writers, but it was superb in the end.
It was amazing, Lee, wasn't it?
No, it was. I mean, that he's been one of the very long-standing Suns players. I always think, it's interesting because I don't know how much he deserved his place in the team on form, and you'd say the same about Nat Fyfe. But using them as subs, I mean, I know we're about to get rid of the sub. I reckon the sub's got a really good function in our game, and one of them is for your veteran players, they're good subs.
Dimmer alluded to the injection of emotion that he lived through this because they took on Port Adelaide, and Port Adelaide beat them through his Travis Boak eyes. I reckon it sort of planted a seed for him in the back of his mind and said, well, there is an emotional uplift in all this. And then we see scenes like this, which, we'll talk about what it means for footy up there in Queensland and particularly on the Gold Coast. It's stunning. It was a stunning result.
There were two possibilities with the Suns, either satisfied to get there, finally made the breakthrough, or built for finals. And it turns out they're built for finals. Yeah,
no, I don't think they're going to be satisfied. I mean, those two young blokes in the middle, Rail and Anderson, I mean, the fact that they were the first and second choice in the draft and they stayed. They're good players, great characters, and they stayed. Only 24-year-olds. I mean, that's a terrific core to build your club on.
Philosophically, they got those two. I know they and then you got Sarong and Brayshaw were outstanding as well. To be able to shut down Anderson and Rao goes a long way to shutting down the Gold Coast, more so even than the other two. And you see what Geelong are able to do with their Irish wolfhounds who can go after anyone at any time.
Is it because Geelong haven't got really elite 3 or 4 centre square players? Atkins is their anchor point, so they can use other players and use a couple of... But training up a couple of close checking one-on-oneers like Geelong have done, I mean, I don't think most clubs haven't got that. They either haven't trained it or it's not part of their list.
Coaches have been telling us for years that it throws our system out. You can't play it because it upsets the way we want to play.
Even coaches get... fascinated by their system, as if my system will always beat their system.
That's what I love about Lethal.
The Brisbane Lions, what risk is there that all the adversity that they have stared down and I think heroically come through is about to crush them? Are they at tipping point?
Well, I think they probably are at tipping point, but it doesn't mean they can't still play well. I mean, Hipwood's been out for a while and Lachie Neale didn't play for a few weeks and they had really good wins against Freo in Perth and Collingwood and Hawthorn at the Gabba. So they've still played well without the couple of players that are now going to be out of the campaign. But you always want your best 23 on your list is what you'd like to field, and certainly the Lions, probably if you took the grand final team last year, there's 5 or 6 missing from that grand final team last year. So a lot of load on the next generation players, because you can have 1 or 2 really young guys, but if you have 4 or 5, doesn't matter how good the other 18 or 20 are, it's really hard to cope. So the Lions are in that in that margins.
We look for signs early in games, and there was a clear sign, wasn't there?
So they'd won the last 3, Brisbane against Geelong, in a similar pattern. So they'd kicked 36 points from the back half, 52 points from the back half and 59. So you're going, gee, their ball movement from the back half's been superb. Chris Scott's one of the smartest coaches in the competition. So this is what happened at a time when I went, right, this is the first time they really started to look to try and get this game going. And Zorko gets involved twice. This is before a score's kicked, and bang, Stengel's on it, goes back the other way, Jeremy Cameron mark and goal. And the pattern was established for the rest of the night. We know you want to do this. We know you're going to take the game on through the middle, and we're awake to it, and we're alert to it, and we're switched on. And the amount of smothers, the smothering in that first half, the 50 tackles in the first half, it just... And to Brisbane's eternal credit, Lee, they didn't get spooked. They just kept going, which is, that's the way they're going to play. And if you can beat us, good luck. Well, Geelong beat you and beat you really well. So what we watch now is the learnings, and Gold Coast will go to school on it, because I'm pretty sure they ain't changing. And Geelong was superb.
No, they weren't. No, those 3 or 4 intercepts in the centre square when you try to bring the ball back inside, that's enough for the team. We've got to be really careful from now on. But Geelong kind of smothered the contest. They just got a lot of bodies around the contest. The hit-outs didn't matter at all, because there was going to be about 24 players within 10 metres of the ball, and that's led by probably Tom Atkins. But the ability to smother the Lions, and the Lions therefore couldn't run. When they kicked the ball long and high in the air, well, the Geelong defence just dominated.
Is the Lockie Neal injury one too many for you?
Feels like it. It does feel like it. But I'm still giving them a massive chance against the Gold Coast Suns. I'm talking ultimate success here. I'm talking premierships. They're still very much alive this weekend. It'll be outstanding. But we watched this at the time, and there was half your heart in your mouth, and suggestion from our boys on the boundaries that is it cramped, but you just knew by the way he looked at it. So you're not getting over a calf in 4 weeks, so that season done. And it does just feel a bit like that.
And the Q clash, Leigh, in a final series. So we've had 4 Sydney derbies peculiarly, 1 showdown, never had a Western Derby. Is this the biggest night of footy in Queensland?
Well, it'll be gigantic for Queensland. You've got to remember, it's a bit like the South East Queensland, but there's Brisbane and the Gold Coast are kind of an hour apart. The Gold Coast Bulletin would be full of Gold Coast stuff. I'll be interested to see whether the Courier Mail, the daily paper in Brisbane, normally you don't get much AFL on that. Might be on the back page this week. Who knows?
To be, doesn't it?
But it should be. I mean, it's the 2 South East Queensland teams being in the finals for your first same time together and playing each other. Yeah, that's a huge contest.
All right, the 2 teams that were eliminated, the Giants, and this is your long suit, just the dysfunction in their forward line early.
Yeah, they absolutely dominated field position. They had 40 inside 50s by half-time, and you talk about connecting with your forwards. They took 3 marks from those 40 inside 50s. We're talking Cadman, talking Hogan, Stringer. And this stuff, I was with Jonathan Brown and Dermot Brereton, and I suppose we all look at it through the same lens. They just ran back to goal. They just showed the ball kicker their back the whole way. Not one player decided to turn around and hit up at the kicker for the easiest kick in footy. Watch this, Leigh. Have a look at the numbers here and look at how every single one of them is going back to goal. Every one of them is heading back. There's a dirty, great big hole there to come into. And then what happens? In the end, the players with the ball go, well, no one's coming at me. So what's my options here? So again, they had that many looks early in this game coming through the middle, and to Hawthorn's credit, they stood up. But they just kept coming back to goal, coming back to goal, coming back to goal, and they weren't getting separation. If they're getting separation, you might think about it. And then what happens as a result of this? Eventually, the penny will drop and a player will go, oh, I'm going to hit up. And they did it a bit more in the second half. So look at that. That's the easiest kick you'll ever get in footy. But by this stage, the blokes with the ball are going, well, you're not hitting up at me all day, so I'm not kicking there. And they just handed the footy back. It was as dysfunctional a forward group as you'd like to see, and that's taking nothing away from Hawthorn's defence, who was just simply brilliant from the opening bounce. But this, if you wanted to get an easy kick, you could have got an easy kick in that forward half if you were prepared to turn around and come back up at the ball.
You're so used forwards these days because of the way the game's played of running back towards goal. That's as if they're not used to leading at the kicker. No. And it's almost a foreign thing to do. But as you pointed out, I mean, one of those 3 coming back has to be prepared to come back.
72 they had inside 50s for the game. It's just the equal most ever in a losing final.
So the picture of the Giants now, who are regressing year on year, so close in a preliminary final against Collingwood. They blew their 2 big leads last year, as is well documented. They come from 42 points down to hit the front in a preliminary final. So they've now lost the full set of finals, a preliminary final, qualifying final, semi-final and elimination final. They're getting further away. It feels like they should be getting closer. What's your read on that?
Yeah, they play so well on their day that you kind of... But they don't do it often enough. They've been too up and down, and that's been pretty normal over the last few years. And so they get themselves into a position. And last year, I mean, we'll always remember that game. They were 44 points in front of the Lions and still lost that game. So that's not going to happen all that often. But they don't seem to be on the up. They just seem to be stuck in that around the mark. And they think they're still around the mark.
I think there's a chance for them. So I went back and had a look at Richmond under Hardwick. So they went 7th, 8th, 7th, 13th, which is a bit, he's going 4th, 5th, 8th, going a bit the same way. Then they went 1st, 3rd, 1st. And Hawthorn were a bit the same. Fags, 18, 15, 5-4, 5-4, just hanging around, 2-1, breakthrough. The Dockers under Longmire a bit the same, 12, 11, 16, 14, 10, now they're coming back. I think there's still a chance for them. And Adam Kingsley said it. Just keep putting yourself back into that spot and believe.
Freo, so there's no doubt it's an opportunity lost. Now, 1 point results in finals are cruel, so you don't want to extrapolate too much. And they do have a young profile, as they're just opening up now. But that was an opportunity loss.
It was. I'm still bullish on them, and it might be to my detriment in the long term. But I think a bit like what I'm talking about with these other players, you just got to keep putting yourself back in there. And I think they've got enough pieces of this puzzle, Leigh, to contend again, learn, contend. They need to add that defensive mid to that group so that those two boys can continue to get to work, but also be able to lock down one of either Rowell or Anderson.
Yeah.
That's something, maybe a Windhager, but, you know, that's the sort of thing they're looking at. But I'm still bullish. What about you?
No, I think there's still potentially on there. But I never thought they were likely to go all the way this year myself. It just never hit me that they would. I thought the Suns were magnificent.
Yeah, they were.
Like for most of the game. I mean, they dropped away and obviously Freo could have come over the top of them, but I thought for much of the game they really took it over there, and Freo couldn't quite cope with that, as the Lions could against Geelong, not do against Geelong on Friday night. Sometimes the opposition can have a really good game, and okay, they got beaten by a point. That's a wafer-thin margin in reason why you won or reason why you lost. But no, again, they're a bit like the Giants. They're round the mark, but I never felt they were likely to be the two or three sides most likely to go all the way.
How are you on them?
They're just starting out. It was really only that they declared now was winning time.
Yeah.
They're making their progress. But at home, 57,000, a team that had never seen finals, you've got to win that game.
Yeah.
And they got outplayed, I agree. They got outplayed for most of it.